Morning, the grade 12s. This is Mr. Ndabezita once again, and we are still continuing with question 1 and question 2. And this time I thought to myself, okay, let me just go to KwaZulu Natal and just try to compare the mindsets of these examiners. So, one most important thing to note is that this is a common test from June, the very year that we are in, and it was worth 150 marks for 3 hours. Okay, let's just go right into it. And remember, we are dealing with pure mathematics. All right, so the first important thing is to read through the instructions that we may have understanding as to how we should deal with the problems. Now, instructions and information. Read the following instructions carefully before answering the questions. This question paper consists of 11 questions. You should answer all the questions if possible. Clearly show all your calculations, diagrams, graphs, and so on that is used in determining your answers. Answers only will not necessarily be awarded full marks. This is a point worthy of noting. An approved scientific calculator, non-programmable graphical, may be used unless stated otherwise. If necessary, answers should be rounded off to 2 decimal places unless stated otherwise. Diagrams are not necessarily drawn to scale. Number the answers correctly according to the numbering system used in this question paper. So in question 1, we are confronted with this. They say solve for x, and this is entirely question 1, and it's worth 24 marks. I think the previous question paper was also worth 24 marks. And they say to us that we should solve for x in 1.1.1. So let's go into that question paper and see how we can do that. So we had in 1.1.1, x squared minus 2x is equals to 0. And then there's something very common that we can see here. Because we don't have a constant, we can take this minus 2x to the other side and it becomes positive. And I'm looking for the value of x. I can divide both sides by x. And by doing that, I know that the exponent here is 1. And when I divide, I subtract the exponent. 2 minus 1 will give you 1. X into x goes once. Therefore, your x will be equals to 2. This was a straight forward question that didn't require much of work. So in 1.1.2, again, let me just stress that there are many ways in which you can look into this. You are more than welcome to do so. And in 1.1.2, we have 5x squared equals minus 11x plus 3. And they said correct to 2 decimal places. So immediately when I see this, I know that I just have to use a quadratic. And the first thing, you introduce the formula x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. We will show the derivation of this formula whenever we have time. So the first thing we do is to write the equation that is provided in a standard form. Bring everything to the side. It was negative, it becomes positive. It was positive, it becomes negative. And then you just insert this on a calculator. Remember, minus coming from the formula. The value of b is positive 11. Plus or minus 11 squared minus 4. A is 5. C is minus 3. Divided by 2a, and you will find 0.25 and x equals negative 2.45. Rounded off to 2 decimal places. And then in 1.1.3 we were given an inequality, and we had x squared minus 2x is less or equals to 8. And then the first thing that we need to do is to take a constant to this side, so it becomes negative. We have x squared minus 2x minus 8 is less or equals to 0, because when you take this 8 to this side, we are left with 0 on the right side. Now I need to factorize this. The factors of 8 that can give me 2, it's 4 and 2. The bigger number 4 takes the sign of the middle term, which is negative. When I multiply them, I should get a negative. So when this is negative, that would automatically be a positive. And then we have the 0 product, therefore we can find the critical values. I say what is inside of this bracket is equals to 0, or inside of that one it's equals to 0. Take to the other side, x is 4, take to the other side, and your x is minus 2. Now remember, we are dealing with inequalities which has an infinite number of solutions. Just as we did previously in the first tutorial, you will write your -2 and your 4. And then remember, we are moving from negative infinities to -2 inclusive, because it says less or equal, so it forms part of the solution. Here we have -2 is to 4, and then 4 moving to positive infinity. We explained this in the first tutorial. And then from there you will take all this in the table, just as we did in the previous tutorial. And then from there you take a value to the left of -2, a value that is less than -2, which is -3. A value in between -2 and 4, you can take 0, you can take 1, 2 and 3, you can even take -1 there. Any value that is between -2 and 4. And a value greater than 4, you can take 5 or 10. Any value that is greater than 4 is more than welcome there. And then on this side you write your first bracket, x minus 4, the second one, there it is, and then the product of the two, because they were multiplying one another. And then from there you substitute -3 here. -3 minus 4 will give you a negative. 0 minus 4 is also a negative, and 5 minus 4 is a positive. And then from there you will substitute -3. -3 plus 2 is a minus. 0 plus 2 positive, and positive. Negative by negative, positive. Negative by positive, it's negative. Positive and positive is positive. Now remember, it said where this is less or equals to 0, meaning where it is negative. And where did we find that? Over here. So we can conclude that the solution lies in the interval -2 is to 4. Or you can say -2, x is greater or equals to -2, less or equals to 4. That would also be accepted. And then we came across 1.1.4. Let me just show you what this problem is. Here it is, 2 to the exponent of 2023, 2022, plus x squared minus x equals x. And remember, this all is inside of the square root. So what I did there was to write first the problem that was provided to me. There it is. And then after doing so, I went on to work on this, because I have 2002 and 2002. I wanted to write that with 2002 also. And how did I do that? I know that when I multiply, I add 2002 plus 1, it's 2023. So I'm trying to have the basis and the exponents of 2002, so that I can take out a common factor. And that's exactly what I did here. Now here I took out 2002. I'm left with 2 plus. I took it out there. When there's nothing left, you just say 1 divided by 2002. This and this goes once, because we are multiplying and dividing at the same time. and then you will have this. And then when you are here, 2 plus 1 is 3, you have x squared minus x, that is equals to x. You want to get rid of the square root, you will square both sides, and then square root and 2 goes once into each other. You are left with 3 plus x squared minus x equals x squared. And then you would take this one to this side, this and this will cancel because they are like terms. You will be left with 3 minus x equals to 0. Take this one to the other side, x is equals to 3. And we can prove to check whether this is true or whether it is not. So this is the solution for that problem. And then in 1.2, let me show you what they provided. The roots of a quadratic equations are here, for which values of m are the roots non-real. Now we are dealing with roots, which are just basically the values of x that satisfies a given condition. We call these the roots or the delta of the equation or the discriminant. And then what you do when a question like that is given to you, you should know that for the roots to be non-real, the discriminant, the delta, should be less than 0. You take what is inside of the square root. Please, you just focus on what is inside of the square root, because what is inside of the square root is in actual fact that determines the discriminant of the equation. So when the discriminant is less than 0, the roots are imaginary. Therefore, you would say the square root of minus m minus 8 should be less than 0. And then you want to get rid of the square root, you will square both sides. Minus m minus 8 is less than 0. Therefore, m should be greater than minus 8. And then remember, it says greater. And then which values are greater than minus 8? Those values. So that will become the solution to the problem that we have. All right, let us continue in this. And then in 1.3, we have the following. Let me just take you back just to show you. They said now a rectangle has a length of 2x plus y meters and a width of y meters as shown in the diagram. The perimeter of the rectangle is 24 meters and the area is 32 meters squared. So this is what we have. Show that the expression for the perimeter is 24 equals 4x plus 4y. Now the first thing that we need to do there is to ask ourselves, what is the perimeter of a rectangle? It is the sum of all the sides that you find in there. So we have the perimeter, which is 24, the area is 32 meters squared. So in 1.3.1, we will introduce first the formula for perimeter, which is y plus y. Remember, this side is equals to that side as much as this is equals to that. So I'll say y plus 2x plus y plus 2x plus y. That will be the perimeter. And y plus y is 2y. And then here you will group the like terms. You will say 2x plus 2x is 4x. And 1 plus y, it's 2y plus y, it's 4y. So you have 2y plus 4x plus 2y, which is 4y plus 4x, which is equals to 24, because the perimeter is given to us as 24 there. Also, that becomes my equation 1, but I could have divided, maybe if possible, throughout by 4 or by 2 just to simplify the equation, but that is fine. I just have that as my equation 1. And then I have proved that the perimeter can be written as 24 equals 4y plus 4x. And then secondly, they said show that the expression for the area is that. And these are just 1 mark questions. So what I said was to say, okay, area is the length multiplied by the width, and then the area is equals to y. Remember, this is the length times the width. It's 2x plus y, multiply throughout by y. You will have 2xy plus y squared. So that becomes 32 equals 2xy plus y squared, because the area was given as 32. And then you are fine, you have your 1 mark. And then there are a lot of marks for the last one, which is determine the dimensions of the rectangle if the value of x is positive. And the first thing that I did there, because I have already numbered my equations as equation 1 and 2, between equation 1 and 2, which one is simpler to make either x or y the subject of the formula? It's the first one. We dealt with this when we looked at simultaneous. So I will say 24 equals 4y plus 3x, and then I will divide throughout by 4. So 24 divided by 4 is 6, which is equals to y plus x, because 4 divided by 4 is 1, 1 times y is y, and 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And then from there I made x the subject of the formula, and I have 6 minus y is equals to x, because when this goes to the other side it becomes negative. And then from there I'm going to substitute 3 in 2, because the equation where you have made y or x the subject of the formula, you will name that as your equation 3. Then I'm going to substitute 3 in 2. We first write the equation 2, which is 32 equals 2xy plus y squared. And then from there, in that equation where I see x, I will be writing 6 minus y, because I have made, remember, x the subject of the formula. So 32 equals 2xy plus y squared. 32 equals 2y. Please be careful. This is just to rearrange here. It's multiplication. The order does not matter. So I have my 2y where I see x. I have that. And then I have 32 equals, by distribution, 12y minus 2y squared plus y squared. And then 32 equals to 12y minus y squared. And then I bring them to the other side. 32 minus 12y plus y squared equals to 0. Write in a standard form, y squared minus 12y plus 32 is equals to 0. Can you find the factors of 32 that can give you 12? Yes, it's 8 and 4. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. When you multiply them, they should be positive. Therefore, the other has to also be negative. So we have the 0 product. Therefore, your y is equals to 8, or your y is equals to 4. And then I will name that as my equation 4. And then what I'm going to do is to substitute 4 in 3. So I write first the equation 3, which is 6 minus y equals to x. And then in this equation where I see y, I'll be writing 8 and 4. So 6 minus 8, x equals minus 2. And they said x should be a positive number. Therefore, I cancel where x is minus 2. And then I go and substitute 6 minus 4, x is equals to 2. So the first ones are not acceptable because x was negative. Only these ones satisfies the dimensions of the rectangle. And then that was just a brief summary of question 1. And then in question 2, we have Tn is equals to negative 2n squared plus 4Tn plus 103 is the general term of a quadratic sequence. Determine T1, the first term of the quadratic sequence. So we want to find the value of the first term. So the value of the first term, you just substitute 1 where you see n, minus 2 into 1 squared plus 14 to 1 plus 103. So the value of the first term, it's 141. And then we go to 2.2, They say determine the second difference of this quadratic sequence. So I found the value of t1 to be 141, t2 this value to t3 and t4 by just substituting the values here 1 2 3 4, and you will find those values. And then I want the difference. There they are, the first difference and the second constant difference. So they said determine the second difference of this quadratic pattern. So the second constant difference is -4. And then in 2.3, they say to us which term of the quadratic sequence has a value of 301. So that 301 becomes your Tn. So you will substitute that on the original equation here. It becomes your Tn, and you find just the value of n. So 301 equals -2n squared plus 40n plus 103. And then what you do when you are there, you just take this value to the other side. You will have 103 minus 301, which will give you -198. And because there's nothing left on this side, you just say you have a 0. And then from there you will divide throughout by -2, because you cannot factorize when the coefficient of n squared is negative. And then when you divide by -2, 0 is equals to, you'll find n squared minus 20n minus 99. Can you find the factors of 99? That can give you 20. Yes. 11 and 9. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. When you multiply them, you should get a negative, so that one automatically becomes a positive. We are here again, the zero product, n plus 9 equals to 0, or n minus 11 equals 0. Therefore your n is equals to -9, or your n is equals to 11. But remember, n cannot be negative. And then we just have to deal with the last one. Which term is the largest term in this quadratic sequence? Well, I sat down and I thought about this, because it doesn't say which term is the biggest or which term is which term is the biggest. It just says which term is the largest term. And the examiner here, he is very tricky, very tricky, because he is never and ever specific here. If he had said which term is the maximum term here, maybe we could have found a way to get around this. But when he says, or when she says, which term is the largest, it's a little bit very tricky question, because how would you find the largest term here? Because this pattern can continue to an infinite value. You can substitute a 100, a 200. It just keeps on increasing. So I thought about this. Which term is the largest term? And unfortunately, these question papers were sent to me. I don't have memos for this. I don't even have data to go and look for the memos of these question papers. I use my data for some other things. So I thought about this and I said, which term is the largest? Does this imply the maximum value? And if it implies the maximum value, can I find the maximum value here? Yes, I can do that, because this is a quadratic. It's more of a parabola here, because this is the definition of a parabola: ax squared plus bn plus c. It's a parabola. I can find the stationary point and I can find the maximum point, the maximum value of x and its corresponding y value. I can do that. But now, is it the largest? Yes, it is the largest, because let me show you something. I tried to draw, where did I draw that? Okay, I think it's on the paper that I was working on. I tried to draw a parabola. Okay, let me do this and show you what I am trying to stress here. Allow me to do this. Please allow me to do this. Let me just have an escape. And let me just try to put this in here. Let me show you something. Let's go to the graph here. And let's graph this equation. Oh, sorry. Let me just do this. Let me do this. We have a function. Let me do this. We have a function, and this function, it's -2. I'm going to use x, -2x squared plus 40x was it plus 1? Okay, let me just say plus 1. Sorry, plus 1. Okay, let me just say start by showing this and show the end with this and start. Let me just have an interval of -10 to +10. I just want to show you something here. Let me check. No, it was positive 103. So let me just edit this. 103. And let me just use a solid line. Okay, it looks like I have made a mistake here. So let me just do this. We have 2x squared. Let me just do this so that we do not confuse things. So -2x squared. Let me just let me just try to fix this. So we have -2x squared plus 40x plus 103. And okay, let me just remove the interval. Okay, let me just do this. And let me redraw and check. No, it is never and ever supposed to be like that. -2x squared. Let me just do this first, and there we have it. So we have -2x squared. Let me do this. -2x squared plus 40x plus 103. And we are having a problem. Let me show you why I'm saying that. Okay, begin from -10 to +10. And let me just do this. -3 is to +3. Okay, I'm still having some problems here. So why is it doing this? -2x squared okay, let's draw. We are still having some problems here. Okay, let me check. Okay, guys, unfortunately it doesn't want to do what I want to do, so let me just leave it. So what I did was to find the turning point. I know that this is a quadratic, it's a parabola, so the turning point for x will be -b/2a, which is equals to minus from the formula the value of b, it's 40 divided by 2 into -2, and I found the value, the maximum value, to be 10. Now let me take you back. Just allow me to take you back. Let me just take you back. Which term is the largest term? So I want you to see something here. There's something that I want you to notice here. Remember, this is a parabola, and let me demonstrate with this. Let me just demonstrate with something. I'm just going to draw the mother graph with the value of a as negative. So let me just have a mother graph -x squared. Let's draw this from -10 to 10, and let it be the starting point and the end point. Right, we are having a mother graph here. It is right, and as you can see that it continues to infinity irrespective of you specifying in there the interval. Okay, let me just try to decrease this to -3 and +3 and see. There it is. So this is the mother graph, and remember, because it is facing downwards, it has a maximum value. The largest value is at this point. This is where we have the largest value. So in here, this 10 is the largest value that we have here, because all these values are increasing to the maximum, and from maximum it tends to decrease. So I try to look at it in that way. I don't know even if it is the correct way of solving this problem, but I think it is, because this is making a lot of sense. So you have the maximum at n is equals to 10, and let's investigate that to see. And one most important point, unfortunately this is not the correct graph, so it's not going to make any sense for me. So but that is the maximum, I believe, because if I go to the formula, let me just do this for you. No, let me just do this, and let me just try to do this. Let's say negative 2 into 10 squared plus 40 into 10 plus 103, and you find the value of 303. Somebody might say, okay, let me substitute 11 you see, you get 301. The values are decreasing to show that they cannot be the largest value. You see, so this is one way that convinced me to say, okay, since T10 gives me the largest value and T11, as you go that side, these values becomes smaller and smaller. Let me just show you that. Delete 12. You see, they are getting smaller and smaller. So you have the largest, the maximum value at n is equals to 10. So this is something, guys, that I wanted to share with you, and I will see you in the next tutorial.